I used to collect pretty much any Vita game that was released by Limited Run Games or the other similar companies. Ray Gigant was the game that made me question why I was collecting every game. It was a game that I had bought digitally and knew I didn't like, so why was I even considering spending more money to buy it again, just to have it sit on a shelf? With cartridge production now ended, it got me thinking more about the games which deserve to be released physically, and which games don't. From my perspective, I don't want to buy every game physically. Games that I would genuinely want to play again in the future when the PSN Vita store is shut down is really what I want to be aiming for. So games like Darkest Dungeon, Salt and Sanctuary and Killzone Mercenary, I'd happily play them in future and would want to have them on cartridge. I have bought games that I regret and thought, why did I bother? I own half of the games on this list admittedly, but when I look at the games here, I just think it's a waste of a Vita cartridge. We don't have physical releases for games like Time Spinner, SteamWorld Dig 2, Fez, Rogue Legacy, and many more excellent games that deserved physical releases far more than the games on this list. When I was coming up with this list, I was thinking of games that were bad, broken, or had little replay value, because games in those categories feel like almost a waste of those cartridges, especially for games released after March 2018, when Sony announced that cart production would be ending. I had first listed over 20 games, but I whittled the list down to these 10 games that I thought did not deserve a physical release. Let me caveat that I understand that any developer or publisher would want their games to have a physical release. It's a way for them to make money, and us Vita fans hoover up pretty much any physical game, regardless of quality at times. I guess I hoped people like Limited Run Games and Red Art Games would do more to curate their releases, so that they're releasing the best games for the system, and not release any low quality or broken games. This is all my opinion as well, and feel free to disagree with me, or feel free to add your physical purchase regrets in the comments. Anyway, onto the list of Vita games that I felt did not deserve a physical release, in no particular order. Dear God. Dear God was released recently from Red Art Games. They have said the game-breaking bug has been patched, but the screen stuttering is still there, although apparently it's been improved. Even without the bugs and the headache-inducing screen shaking, it's just a bad game. The gameplay loop is repetitive and boring, and penalizes players constantly. It looks pretty, but it's not a good game. Race the Sun. This was released by Limited Run Games in November 2018. The game itself is fine, but it's a cheap mobile auto runner. There are so many more worthy games that make this feel like a waste. This was released after the announcement of Vita cart production ending, so 2,300 carts went to this game, when Salt and Sanctuary only had 1,800. You can buy this game on your mobile or digitally on Vita for a quarter of the price of this physical release. Night Trap. Night Trap was released recently and the game is broken. It can't be completed. A broken game should not have been released. Limited Run Games have admitted that it was a busy period for them, and they missed spotting the bugs during testing. But even the developer and digital publisher should not release a game that's broken. I bought this game physically, and it's annoying knowing that I'll never be able to finish this game due to its bugs. Proteus. Proteus is a simple walking simulator where you walk around an island. It's an okay experience, but it can be finished in less than an hour. We end up paying more than double the cost of the digital release for a game that can be finished faster than my journey to work. Ice Cream Surfer. I've reviewed Ice Cream Surfer on my channel, and it's a below average 2D shooter. It's another Red Art Games release, and it's just not worth a physical release at all. Tokyo Tattoo Girls. Tokyo Tattoo Girls was released by NIS, and at the time it was expected to be NIS's last physical release. Fortunately, NIS went on to release Longest 5 Minutes and 2 other games in March 2019. This would have been a bad game to end NIS's physical releases. It's a strategy game that's shallow and unfulfilling. This got a physical release when NIS also published Claddon Returns, which was fantastic and didn't get a physical release, which makes me sad. Ghoul Boy. Ghoul Boy is a mediocre 2D platformer. The physical pre-orders went up before the digital game was released, so no one knew if it would be any good. We now know it's not a great game. There are so many 2D platformers on Vita that would have been better for a physical release. I already mentioned Fez and Rogue Legacy. How did they not get a physical release and instead we get Ghoul Boy? Drive Girls. Drive Girls is another game reviewed on my channel. It's a 3D action game where girls in skimpy clothing turn into cars and fight aliens. It sounds like a fun and random premise, but the story is rubbish and the gameplay is boring. Vegas Party and Top Trumps Turbo. The last two games were released by Funbox, and in my opinion are two of the worst games I've played on the Vita. You can look up my videos on both of these games. They're trash. They each got a print run of around 1,000 copies, making them some of the rarest games on Vita, but that doesn't mean they're worth buying. So that's my 10 games. Like I said earlier, there were more, but I thought these were the 10 least deserving physical releases. If Vita carts were unlimited, then it wouldn't matter as much, but given where we are, it's crappy to see carts wasted on these games. So guys, what games do you consider as undeserving of a physical release? And do you agree with my list? Leave a comment below, and as always, thanks for watching.